Well, she's an international singer who has sung for four consecutive US presidents, from George Bush to Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden. Welcome, Mary Millben, to CNN News 18. And we are here in the US and speaking to Mary Millben. She sang India's national anthem, Jana Gana Man, and touched Mr. Modi's feet during his June 2023 trip. That was an official state visit and at an event hosted by the United States Indian Community Foundation in Washington, D.C. And today we are joined by Mary Millben again, as Prime Minister Modi is again in the U.S. on a 3-day visit. Mary, my first question to you. I've heard you say that you have always seen patriotism in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's eyes. He's the right leader for the India's-US relationship, is your belief. Can you touch a bit more on that one? Why do you feel so?
Yes. And first, good morning to you, Mr. Sharma, and to all of the CNN News 18 family. It's great to be with you all this morning. And it's so exciting to have the Prime Minister back in the United States. Certainly, I know it's an exciting time for all of the Indian American community and certainly Indian communities across the world. And you're right, there is such patriotism, not only in the air in the United States, but as I've said often, there's such patriotism in the heart and the eyes and the essence of Prime Minister Modi. He truly is the right leader for India, the U.S.-India relationship, and certainly for our times in the world. And he has such a love for the Indian people and for Indian communities across the world. You see that in the Prime Minister's travels across the world, as of late, all of the different Indian communities that exist across the world, how excited they are to welcome the Prime Minister when he travels across the world, and communities outside of the Indian communities. He has there's such an affection, I know, certainly here in the United States, in the African American community and communities outside the Indian community, for the Prime Minister, for who he is and what he represents and the wonderful things that he's doing to uplift the people in India.
And Mary, whenever he comes to the US, be it the Howdy Modi event, San Jose, Madison Square Garden, there's always this huge excitement, especially not just among the Indian diaspora. Of course, they're always excited that Prime Minister Modi comes, but an average American also, he sees the popularity of this man. And I think Joe Biden once said that, man, you're so popular,
Yeah.
So what do you think is the reason for this popularity of Mr. Modi, which is, transcends the shores of India as well?
Well, I tell you, the Prime Minister, now having met the Prime Minister, he is such a kind man. He's such a humble man. And people in general, doesn't matter what culture you are, where you live in the world, what your zip code is, people are drawn to leaders who are kind, who are humble, who are relatable, who are personable. In light of the magnitude of the Prime Minister governing 1.5 billion people and one of the oldest and largest democracies in the world, he still has maintained that beautiful essence of kindness and humility. And I believe that has 100% contributed to his popularity, certainly across the world, but also to his acumen. He has done tremendous advancements in India that have not only contributed to the betterment of the Indian people, but certainly positioned India as a game player, certainly positioned India as a leader, economic leader across the world. And so I think it's twofold. I believe it's his essence, and I believe also it's just his effective leadership that has positioned him as such a popular leader across the world.
Well, Mary, the visit of the Prime Minister also comes at a very interesting time. In about a month from now, Americans will be voting on who should be their next president. Donald Trump supporter in more ways. Is Donald Trump the best bet for the next president of the US, and will it also be good for Indian and US relations?
Yes. Well, thank you for the question. I think we're 46 days away from our election day. And it's a very exciting, but very serious time in the country, because there are two very different Americas on the table based on the two candidates that we have. Of course, it's no secret I am supporting President Trump. I've been performing for the president for almost 10 years. I've known the president and First Lady Melania Trump intimately, and the family for quite some time. And I do. I believe that President Trump is the best leader for America. Certainly, I say that in respect to the position of the vice president. But I just think when you look at the policies, when you look at what's necessary for getting America back on track, and who we are to the world, President Trump's policies, hands down, are the best policies to get America back on track. And to your point about what's best for India, yes, I believe President Trump is the right leader for America as it relates to the U.S.-India relationship. President Trump and Prime Minister Modi have and had a great relationship when President Trump was in the White House for 4 years. The policies and the approach of the Trump administration was a positive approach. There were positive policies that enabled India, that strengthened the U.S.-India relationship. And certainly that's going to be necessary going forward as we're dealing with very different dynamics across the world as compared to when the president was in the White House for his 4 years. So it's my hope the president is elected in November, and certainly on day one. That's what you're going to get with President Trump. I can't say that for the other side, but with President Trump, he has been a former president. And so he'll be able to walk into the Oval Office on day one and deliver. And that's very important right now with the challenges that we're facing in America and certainly across the world.
So experience is key. You mean the acumen may come from experience. There's no learning time here at the Oval Office, surely.
That's right. And I've said that, that exact phrase I said here recently, acumen comes with experience, and the Oval Office cannot be a classroom. So it's not a time for a candidate to walk into the Oval Office and have to spend time learning the position. And it just, we're in times that are necessary for leadership that knows what to do on day one. And that's a guarantee with President Trump. And it certainly, now is a guarantee with Prime Minister Modi with his reelection. And again, I think the people had the same sentiments in India that we have in America, that we want day one leadership based on the challenges that we're facing within our own countries and who we represent, what the United States and India now represent to the world. We have to have leadership that can effectively lead on day one.
Mary, on that note, the last question I would ask you that, 53% of the voters in the US are women. So don't you think Kamala Harris has an advantage here as possibly she's projecting herself as the first woman president of USA? I know Hillary Clinton couldn't do it, but Kamala Harris looks very confident, especially after Joe Biden has said he will not enter in the race.
Well, you're right. 53% of the vote in America are females. And so women, moms, or grandmoms, all women will play a very big role in our election, as they always do on that note. But I must say, there's been a lot of conversation about, Vice President Harris running, being a female, if that has an impact on our election. Now, let me certainly say, I think it's important to see women continue to run in positions that we haven't had occupied by a woman. And so it's for one day, I think it will be America will be excited to see that happen. However, I will say that we are not Americans are not citizens who vote on gender. We vote for what's best for the country. And so I have to always push back on that notion because we're an intelligent people, just like the Indian citizens are. American citizens are an intelligent people. So we don't necessarily look at a gender conversation. We look at which candidate has the best policies to create an equal playing field for all Americans. Which candidate has the best policies to maintain the stability and the security and what's best for the world? Which president has the best policies? And that's how American citizens, we are an intelligent people. That's how we vote. And I believe and I'm confident that that's how Americans are going to vote in November, not based on gender or things that don't necessarily have an impact on how effectively a president can lead. But what are the best policies for all Americans? What are the best policies as it relates to America's position and leadership in the world? And again, I just believe that President Trump will succeed because his policies are the best for America.
Well, that are the words from Mary Millben. The Oval Office cannot be a classroom, and by the popularity of Modi transcends the shores of India. Thank you so much, Mary Millben, for joining us on CNN News 18. Always a pleasure to speak to you.
Well, great to see you. God bless you all. Enjoy your time in the States.